Good morning, online people. Am I audible? चलिए. So let us start. I told you first we will do BRICS. After this, I have done comprehensive on child nutrition and everything. Handout वहां से दिया नहीं उन्होंने? क्या कोई बोल देना जरा पीछे? हैं? इतने ही प्रिंट आउट से? जरा उनसे शेयर कर लो, वो अभी ला देंगे. क्या तुम एक्स्ट्रा लेके बैठे हो? चलिए ठीक है. So the BRICS expansion that we have to deal with first. We know the 15th BRICS summit had taken place. South Africa, Johannesburg. It was the first in person. The most important thing was it was the first in person. So far, we were having virtual meetings of BRICS. So this was the in person meeting. The theme of the summit was, please remember the theme. Sometimes UPSC asks themes, sometimes, not always, but sometimes it asks what is the theme of this event, especially most important event like Earth Day, Chandrayaan Day. Okay, these kind of things they ask. What was the highlight? Most important highlight was BRICS Plus. Previous class mein we understood that BRICS Plus, there was an attempt by China earlier. It was China was trying it for a few years that we should expand BRICS. But a country like Russia, particularly India, was opposing this. Because understand, India was not against expansion of BRIC. India is against which country will be an expansion of BRIC. Because that will decide whether China will control the narrative or India will control the narrative. Anyway, BRICS mein India is a subordinate partner. BRICS is basically a platform of China and Russia. They are the largest economy, most powerful, and there is a kind of correlation between them. India appears to be a left out there. कुछ भी हाइप हमारी मीडिया बनाए वो एक अलग बात है. रियलिटी यही है कि इंडिया इज अ बिट लेफ्ट आउट कंट्री देयर. Remaining four countries do not have any problem with each other. India has problem with Russia and China. Apart from that, India is now moving toward USA under Modi government, because India mein BJP government has always leaning toward USA and the capitalist bloc, while other parties like Congress, which are more of a center left parties, they having leaning towards socialism. ये याद रखिएगा, the different parties have different orientation in India. BJP has always been pro capitalism, and this government particularly is purely neoliberal. On neoliberalism we have already understood. Neoliberalism means market fundamentalism, a government that believes in market forces only, that does not believe in any state intervention. So सबको समझ में आ रहा है? The expansion of BRIC is not a problem. The problem is which country will be in the expansion of BRIC. Nonetheless, now you have BRICS 11. New countries have been included: Egypt, Saudi, UAE, Ethiopia, and Argentina. Out of this, India does not have any problem with any of the country. Particularly, we have very good relation with UAE out of the remaining country, and all countries are very friendly toward China. So यहाँ पे there is a very big problem here, that BRICS expansion is favorable for India or not India. That is the most important thing we need to understand. Everyone is getting the point? Please remember that. Next, bilateral talk. We know that India, China is not talking with each other. We are angry with on each other since Doklam. Doklam, it was a place in Bhutan. We will do. Third news is about Bhutan. So in that, India basically held Bhutan to maintain its sovereignty. But at this point, remember one thing: no country will come to assistance of another country just because they like them. It's all about national interest. We help Bhutan in Doklam. It's a place near on the northern western border of Bhutan. We help Bhutan not because we love Bhutan, but because we do hate China. So you help your friend not because you love the other person, just because you hate the other person. चलो भाई, इससे बदला लेना है मेरे को. बात समझ में आई? तो please remember that. So nonetheless, so some talks were initiated between Modi and Xi Jinping that how to de-escalate and everything. But at this point, understand, China plays mind tactics. China does not carry out deep incursions. It only carry out mind games. और इसमें the problem here is LAC, line of actual control. The border between India and China is known as LAC, line of actual control. The problem with this idea is LAC is a recognized idea. Both India and China recognize, yes, there is LAC. But where is LAC is not clear. So China says that LAC is within 100 kilometers inside India border. We claim it is 100 kilometers within China's border. So that is the problem. And why this is a problem? Because remember, we understood earlier there is something called state. State means a territory having a population ruled by a sovereign. That sovereign often becomes the government. So at this point, I told you there is a difference between state and government. There is difference between government of India and Bharat Mata. Government of India is not Bharat Mata. So criticism वो मैंने आपको पहले भी समझाया था, राजद्रोह and राष्ट्रद्रोह. There is a difference between against state and against government. Against government is a right of every Indian. It is often said, if you have never protested against your government in your entire life, then you are nothing more than a subject. You are not a citizen. Citizens protest. Because ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता, मान लेते हैं you live 70 years. 70 years में you could not find even one mistake of government. ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता. You can find a mistake in the person you love very much next day. That you do this, you do that. But you are unable to find a problem in government functioning. So it simply means you are a subject. So differentiate subject and citizen. Samely differentiate government and state. State is different. Government is different. Government is just a tool of the state to exercise the component of sovereignty. यहाँ तो बात clear हुई? अब this is a modern notion. मैंने आपको पहले समझाया था that it evolved after Treaty of Westphalia, 1648. That gave birth to this notion. Before this, most important component here is that to fixed territory. Territory is not a problem. Territory used to be in empires, but then empires used to expand and contract. For the first time in the world, we witness modern nations based on fixed territory. Where it evolved, Westphalia, it's a place in Germany. So where it evolved? West. West में the idea of fixed nations evolved. Then this idea traveled to the east through colonialism. सबको समझ में आ रही है बात? An idea evolved in West, then Western countries colonized the world, particularly Britain colonized India. So it brought idea of fixed territory to India. That is the reason. Because East में this idea did not originate. So if you look at India's border, they are all settled by Britishers. Before Britishers, India did not have a fixed border with any country whatsoever. All of India's neighbor had no fixed border. We used to have buffer zone. Empires के बीच में usually क्या होता था? Buffer zone होते थे. And anyone could not claim. So what happened? India and China के बीच में there was a buffer zone. बात समझ में आ रहा है सबको? तो modern nation idea based on fixed territory evolved in West. Then it traveled to the East through colonialism. Britishers tried to solve the border problem. They tried to fix India's border. They were successful largely except China. China में that's why there is a LAC and that's why there is a problem. सबको समझ आ रहा है? What is the problem? The problem is because this was used to be a buffer zone. This idea did not evolve in India. First reason. Second reason, we never had a war with China in pre-modern time. Modern time में इसीलिए बोला जाता है, usually हम मानते हैं technology is progressive. Usually हमारा सबका मानना क्या है? Technology is progressive. It leads to advancement. But in geography, technology is regressive. बात समझ में आ रहा है? Because technology is always progressive. It leads to new horizons. जैसे अब AI आ गया है, it is doing a lot of works. But in context of geography and IR, technology is regressive. India, China never had a proper war because we had Himalayas in between. And it was not easy to cross Himalayas. But now we have the technology to cross Himalayas. And that's why we had a war in 1962. बात समझ में आया? So two different things here. Pehla, the idea of fixed territory was not in India, did not originate in India. It traveled to India through colonialism. Second, we never had a proper war. Because what happens in a war? When you have a war with a country, you settle borders. Whenever there is a war, you decide, okay, fine, this is your territory, this is my territory. But we never had a war with China in pre-modern time. So we never had a settled border. Britishers tried to settle it. बात clear है? And that's why we have this dispute. आ गया bilateral talk वाला. सबको clear are these disputes? Please remember this. Treaty of Westphalia, modern state emerged, traveled to the east through colonialism, and that's why India has largely unsettled border, and that's why we were trying to basically engage with China. Next is counter-Western perspective. BRICS wasn't carrying a counter-Western perspective regarding attempts to isolate Russia over Ukraine conflict. ये important point है that in this summit we did not say anything to Russia. Or sort of common sense. Why would we say anything to Russia? अब यहाँ पे there is a problem with India. Indian government since 2014, particularly Modi government, is too much leaning toward USA. Now we are a major defense partner. Now we have signed defense agreements with USA for the first time. आप इंडिया यूएस रिलेशन में करेंगे like लीम हुआ, सिस्मो हुआ, बाइका. These agreements ensure interoperability in armed forces. So on one hand, we are integrating with the West. On the other hand, we are on a platform that West sees as a challenger to West. बात समझ में आ रहा है सबको? So that was the third point. Counter West perspective. China, Russia believes BRIC is a counter to Western propaganda. China, Russia का simple belief है. India does not believe that. Because India has to do a very careful balancing. हम एक ऐसे grouping में है in which two countries, the major two countries, Russia and China, both hates America. America hates them, vice versa. And we love both. ठीक है, we love BRICS also, we love USA also. So we are very hearty kind of people, है ना? हमारा दिल पिघल जाता है हर किसी को देख के. ठीक है. Next is global reform. This has been an agenda of the BRICS forever. BRICS बनाया ही इसी पर्पस से किया था. BRICS का main purpose है to bring reforms in institution of global governance, UN, IMF and World Bank. All are basically US ideas. And I was starting में बताया था, IR is nothing more than US foreign policy. All theories, all ideas that you study in IR, whatever idea you study, it's US which either coined them or sustains them. Clear? So, can anyone tell me what is the base philosophy of United Nations? On what philosophy UN is based? Some security, something कुछ याद आ रहा? Collective security. Defense छोटा होता है. It is based on the idea of. Please remember this, everyone. Collective security. UN is based on the idea of collective security, which evolved in Woodrow Wilson. He was the president of United States of America. Woodrow Wilson 14-point speech. Actually, this is the most important part. Please, isko, whenever you will do IR, do it this in detail. Whatever you study in IR today is nothing more than a footnote to Woodrow Wilson's speech. He raised 14 points of governance, he raised 14 points of IR, and they are a common sense in entire IR. For example, freedom of navigation, freedom of trade, democracies, collective security. So we live in a world made by US. बात समझ में है सबको? What China is trying to do? China is trying to substitute US. China wants that I am the next superpower. And this is the problem that is going on. Pakistan wants that the world compare Pakistan with India. India hates it. India is like, do not compare me with Pakistan, do whatever you want. Except India's media. वो तो हर वक्त Pakistan, Pakistan. It's a shame basically. मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया था. They always talk about Pakistan. We say there is hunger here. They say, look at Pakistan. They are more hungry. It's a shame. We are not comparing ourselves with Pakistan. That is not a country of comparison. We want to compare ourselves with China. अब ये problem है. Pakistan wants to compare itself with India. India hates it. India wants to compare itself with China. China hates it. China wants to compare itself with USA. USA hates it. This is the thing that is going on. Anyway, so please remember, very important thing, United Nations based on the idea of collective security propounded by Woodrow Wilson in 14-point speech. Collective security means that the security of one nation is the concern of every other nation. It is a counter, or it is a substitution of earlier idea of balance of power. Before collective security, the world runs on balance of power. What is balance of power? It says that the country shall maintain roughly equal power. Obviously, बात है, you would not like to fight with a person who is roughly equal to you in power or better than you. So when there is roughly equal power, nobody goes for a war. That was the idea of balance of power, but it never happened because entire European history is filled with wars. And then we saw two world wars. After that, the world thought we need to switch from balance of power to a new idea, and that new idea is clear sabko. So what China wants? China wants to either reform these institutions, which US does not want. Of course, US would not like to reform these institutions, particularly United Nations में. तो you can say China and Russia also have veto power. तो वो तो enjoy करते हैं. ये institution थोड़ा concern के हैं. IMF and World Bank are US dominated institution. Whatever US says, they do, and they are a very important source of money in case of a crisis. Something we call BOP crisis. Here BOP means balance of payment. BOP in IR means balance of power. So if there is a question, मान लेते हैं if there is a question in paper 2, GS paper 2 about BOP, so do not write about balance of payment. GS2 is with IR. तो वहाँ पे if a question asks write what is BOP and how it is relevant for current world, तो वहाँ पे balance of payment नहीं लिखना है. वहाँ पे क्या लिखना है? Balance of power. अगर GS3 में आता है question, that same question, what is BOP and how it is relevant for the world today, तो वहाँ पे क्या लिखना है? Balance of payment. ठीक है, both are different things. So what happened? Balance of payment simply means the net of the money that comes into India and goes out of India. Simply stating, BOP crisis means it's a problem when you have to pay more money to the world than you earn from the world. There is a gap. When your expenditure is more than income, of course there is a gap. How you fill that gap? You go to IMF, and IMF is controlled by US. Then US dictate reforms as US wants. Very good example, Pakistan. Recently, Pakistan suffered from a BOP crisis. It went to IMF asking for a bailout. IMF said, I will give you a bailout. First, you disclose all deal with China. ठीक है, सेम इंडिया के केस में हुआ था when 1991 में we faced BOP crisis. We went to IMF. IMF dictated, bring neoliberal reforms. So India brought neoliberal reforms, adopted new economic policy in 1991 under the command of IMF. It is the same thing Prime Minister Modi said in Parliament. In Parliament, in a reply to the Congress question, he said that in your government, the reforms were out of compulsion. In my government, the reforms are out of conviction. Getting the point? He said, in your government, you were doing reform. You brought neoliberal reform, but you were forced, you were caused by IMF. In my government, I believe in neoliberalism. Clear? So this is the most important point, and this is the point of constant friction between West and the rest. The rest, particularly China, which wants to substitute US. China wants to become the next superpower, substituting US. ठीक है? Please remember that. Next, climate change तो common चीजें हैं, ये बातें हम करते हैं, मानता कोई नहीं. We have to do good talks also. So climate change, global affairs वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. ठीक है? So this is very common, but these reforms, please remember, counter-West perspective, it is being seen. India does not want this. India tries to show BRICS is not an anti-West platform. But China is very open to say this, yes, we are an anti-West platform. Global reforms in which India is also on board with China and Russia. We want reform, we also want reform. Bilateral talk ho gaya, or this is the most important concern. Chaliye, let's see issue of BRICS expansion. So there are some scholars that I read and I've written them. What is their analysis about this? So let's quickly see. First is Professor Darren A. Smoglu. Nice name. So the enlargement includes only countries that are already friendly with China. The first scholar says that the enlargement includes countries which are already friendly with China. The BRICS Plus is poised to merely another tool of Chinese diplomacy. And most important, what is Chinese debt trap? China gives loan. China gives loan. We know the project China has initiated, so-called BRI. BRI means Belt and Road Initiative. In arts and culture, you will study about Silk Route. Arts and culture, mein, ancient India, mein, there used to be a Silk Route. So China is saying that I am trying to recreate the Silk Route again. It was a route of trade and commerce. So I am trying to do the same. But the real purpose is China is trying to spread itself as the global power. China gives money to the people in this case countries, and gave them so much of money that they are unable to repay. And then China negotiates on sovereignty. For example, Sri Lanka, it has taken Hambantota port on 99 years lease or something. Similarly, it has project in virtually every country you can imagine, particularly around India. That is something we call the string of pearls. बिल्कुल सही. A string of pearls. China has project all around India. तो ऐसे समझिए जैसे for example this is India, this is Indian Ocean. So China has project all around India. If you combine them, so it kind of encircles India. Already in the north पे तो China has already encircled India because China Pakistan are now more or less one. Pakistan is more or less the colony of China now, so they are one. North में तो India's containment is complete. South में Indian Ocean में India's containment is not complete and India is taking active efforts. सबको समझा what is string of pearls? There are some projects of China in the entire Indian Ocean which are like pearls. If you combine them, it becomes a kind of encirclement of India. That is called string of pearls. And who gave this name? America. America loves this. Okay, America says to India, देखो, China is trying to do something and China is trying to continue and India is like, okay, आपने मुझे बता दिया, I was not aware. हैं? We है? Necklace of diamond अलग चीज है. नहीं. सागर माला को इसमें कहाँ ले आते हैं सब लोग? वो अलग प्रोजेक्ट है. दैट्स एन इकोनॉमिक प्रोजेक्ट. हमारा प्रोजेक्ट मौसम है इसके लिए. प्रोजेक्ट मौसम है, एशिया अफ्रीका के, मतलब बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट आईआर में कर लेना. अगर यहाँ तक समझ में आया सबको, so remember this string of pearls is not India's idea. It is what US told to India. US loves this kind of things to make people aware you are in danger. ठीक है? इसी को हम बोलते हैं buck passing. क्या बोलते हैं इसे हम? Buck. It's a part of foreign policy. There are two ways of addressing a threat. You do not like somebody, you want to punish or hurt that person. So you have two ways. Either you fight directly or you make somebody to fight that person. So if you make somebody to fight that person, it is called buck passing. When US passes the buck to other country to fight with its enemy. Just for example, Ukraine in case of Russia. ये सबको पता है that Ukraine became a pawn in America's bigger game of weakening Russia. The Ukraine war में doesn't matter. Either Ukraine wins or Russia wins. The winner will be US. ठीक है? तो India same US is trying to do in case of China. China case में US has passed the buck to India. Clear है? So that is what they are trying to say. Chinese diplomacy and Chinese act. Next thing, BRICS will turn into even more anti-democratic club. So at the risk of facing jail, मैं आपको चीज समझा रहा हूँ. Anti-democratic club. Why is it so? Because I think previous we had discussed multiple times that democracy around the world is declining. Around the world, democratic credentials are declining at a very, very fast pace. And why? Because remember, soft dictators, हमने बात की थी कुछ. Soft dictators. These are people who rise in democracy, but they are like a dictator. But why we are calling them soft dictators? Because they do not appear like a dictator. They rise in democracy. They sustain democracy. They have certain features as पहले भी हमने बात की हो, that for example, they in democracies they fight elections like a war. For them, election is not a process to come into power to govern a nation. It is a process to prove that I am the best. Every election for them is a war. They buy media. Second feature is they buy media. Wherever they cannot buy media, they pressurize them. आपने सुना होगा ना, हमारे पास भी दो इंस्टीट्यूशन है प्यारे प्यारे. ठीक है, है ना? ठीक है. Anyway, clear है? तो that is what he is trying to say. Anti-democratic club. Russia and China are dictatorship, no doubt over that. Chinese president is now king there. He calls himself president, but he is king. Basically, why nobody use the word king today? Because it has negative connotation. Everyone uses the word president, prime minister, but they are like king. So Chinese president is for life now. He has no term limit. So he is a basically king. Russia mein Putin is already a king. So they are more or less autocracies. India's credentials are not very good right now. India is now considered as a flawed democracy according to democracy index of the Economist. Clear है? Under the Economist published a democracy index, अकेला India नहीं है. US is also a flawed democracy now. India is not there. All big democracies that you see, they are declining in democratic credentials. वही बात ये कह रहा है, it will become a एंटी डेमोक्रेटिक क्लब, क्योंकि बाकी जो कंट्री है उनका भी कुछ डेमोक्रेसी से अच्छा खासा लेना देना नहीं है. ठीक है. विद मैनी इमर्जिंग इकोनॉमी फेसिंग डेमोक्रेटिक क्राइसिस, वही जो मैंने आपको समझाया, द डिक्लाइन ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी बिकॉज ऑफ द राइज ऑफ सॉफ्ट डिक्टेटर्स, चाइनीज एंगेजमेंट लीडिंग टू so there he has a fear that Chinese engagement with this remaining 10 countries will even lead to more authoritarianism. चाइना ने सिखाएगा कैसे जनता को बर्बाद करते हैं, because China maintains a very strong, आपको पता होगा, very strong surveillance. आपने आई थिंक बिग बॉस नाम का सीरियल देखा होगा इंडिया में. That Big Boss is based on US program called Big Brother. That Big Brothers come from a book written by, नहीं याद नहीं रखते कुछ भी. Basically, a book was written with the George Orwell. George Orwell wrote a book 1984 in which he predicted a system where cameras, surveillance cameras, audios are present everywhere, your bathroom, including your bathrooms. Government watches every second of your life, and when it watches every second of your life, it can manipulate your behavior. It can make sure nobody try to rise against me. So such a state where government regulate even the personal affairs of people, such kind of using technology is known as Orwellian state. आजकल हम इस टर्म का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, known as Orwellian state. So argument ये दिया जा रहा है, चाइना तो प्रॉपर ऑर्वेलियन है. China is already an Orwellian state. It keeps a strict eye on every single Chinese. And how it does that? It has no Western platform. Social media, YouTube, Twitter, वगैरह, none of them are available in China. Chinese government has its own social media platform. And on all platform, it maintains a very strict control over information. It does not allow anti-Chinese narratives. जैसे इंडिया में तो कुछ भी चल जाता है, because इंडिया में we have a freedom of expression which is more sacred than Chinese authoritarianism. Clear है सबको? That is the point here. और यही बात मार्टिन बरेजा ने कही है. But Martin Bareja is saying, a study published by Martin Bareja highlights that authoritarian regimes like China, Russia, they are already sharing powerful tool of surveillance. They're sharing with other dictatorships, the soft dictators, how you can use digital media to control people's mind. जैसे आजकल भक्त आ गया ना, एक फिनोमिना आ गया भक्त का, आपने सुना होगा इंडिया में. भक्त is not a person. Bhakt is a phenomena. Bhakt means a person who basically believes in a kind of leader, irrespective of criticism. आप अगर एक व्यक्ति, कोई भी हो सकता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि केवल मोदी के भक्त होते हैं, राहुल गांधी के भी भक्त हैं. Anyone who follows a leader without criticism, that is a bhakt. And how bhakts are being created? Media, particularly WhatsApp University, आपने शायद सुना होगा. जानबूझ के फेक नैरेटिव्स आर पब्लिश्ड. अब इतना किसको पता होता है? देखिए, फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ अ पॉलिटिशियन कम्स इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू एंड टेल्स यू समथिंग, यू विल डाउट दैट पर्सन, क्योंकि आपको पता है वो पॉलिटिशियन है. बट इफ मान लेते हैं फॉरवर्ड कम्स फ्रॉम योर पेरेंट्स, फ्रॉम योर फ्रेंड, फ्रॉम योर रिलेटिव्स, तो यू हैव लेस रीजन टू डाउट कि योर फादर इज फॉरवर्डिंग समथिंग, ही मे हैव सम इल मोटिव्स. तो आपका डाउट कंपोनेंट जो होता है, दैट गोज अवे एंड यू स्टार्ट बिलीविंग. और वो फॉरवर्ड जब बार बार आएगा तो यू ऑफन, आपने देखा होगा ना, यू फॉरगेट द सोर्स बट यू रिमेंबर द कंटेंट. आपको होता है, ये पढ़ा तो है, कहाँ पढ़ा है मुझे याद नहीं. So that is the problem with the human mind. So more and more forward you receive, over a time you start believing in your own fake idea. इसे हम बोलते हैं propaganda. That's how propaganda works. This was started by Germany. Germany had a propaganda minister, and he has popularly said, "A lie said 1,000 times becomes the truth." बात समझ में आया सबको? So that is the problem, that the so-called Orwellian state is being established by China, which has already done that. Now it is sharing this technology around the world. India के केस में there was an acquisition of Pegasus, अगर आपको याद हो. Pegasus was a spyware. It could penetrate any device, including the so-called most secure iPhones. And it did penetrate, and it is accused that the government of India used that not only on journalists they do not like, but also on the people they like, including ministers of their own government. अपने ही गवर्नमेंट के मिनिस्टर्स पे दे वर स्पाइंग, ऐसा एक्यूजेशन है, नोबडी नोज द रियलिटी, कोई इन्वेस्टिगेशन नहीं हुआ. They spied on election commissioner, they spied on Supreme Court judges. So if that kind of surveillance is going on, अब खुद सोचिए, if you know somebody is watching you, so you will fear in sharing anything, particularly if you have a very critical information that may work against the government. That's how democracy dies. यही tagline है the Washington Post की, democracy dies in darkness. Clear है सबको? So that is the most important thing. Please remember. Next scholar is Sushant Singh. He's a senior fellow at Center for Policy Research, good institution of good think tank. Said that this Chinese strategy is driven by Beijing feeling isolated. Why China is expanding BRICS according to Sushant Singh? The reason is that Beijing is feeling isolated in the world called, earlier it was called Asia Pacific. और मैंने आपको पहले भी समझाया है, whatever US says become common sense. This is a word coined by US. Why? Because Asia Pacific includes China also. By coining this word, US was trying to appease. जैसे होता ना, you do fake praise of somebody you want. तो fake praise करते हैं, बाद में देख लेंगे. So same thing is being done by US. US specifically coined the word Indo-Pacific to emphasize that India is central in the Pacific Ocean. बात समझ में आया? Not China, because Asia Pacific includes China also. That's US argument. अब India again problem में है. India has often said, the Modi himself has said, that Indo-Pacific is not a strategic idea. What is Indo-Pacific according to the Modi government? It is not a strategic idea. Basically, Modi was trying to persuade China कि यार Indo-Pacific is not against you. Nobody like Indo-Pacific. We like Indo-Pacific. China, Russia does not like Indo-Pacific. And Russia, to the extent, became so angry with this. Russia has openly, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, अब नहीं बोल रहा वो क्योंकि अभी war चल रहा है with the need us, but they have openly said that India is now a tool of American foreign policy. Openly बोला है उसने ये बात, that India is now a tool of American foreign policy. Sergei Lavrov. इस context में Modi was trying to say India Pacific is not a strategic idea. उसी session में there was US representative, उसने खुल के बोल दिया Indo-Pacific is a subset of American foreign policy. ठीक है, तो ये चल रहा है इस समय ड्रामा. क्लियर है? ये ड्रामा याद रखिएगा, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट वर्ड्स हैं. Indo-Pacific, why it was conned, what is the narrative of India. कोई भी आप नई टर्म देखें IR में तो always know what India talks about that idea, what India feels about BRICS plus, what India talks about Indo-Pacific. किसी का पता हो ना पता हो, इंडिया का नैरेटिव आपको पता होना जरूरी है. Because in every question, even if the question does not ask, you will always write India dimension. जितने IR के क्वेश्चन होंगे, चाहे उसमें पूछा जाए ना पूछा जाए, you will always write India's dimension, what India thinks, what India is doing. That is compulsory for all IR questions, irrespective of the question. Clear? चलिए, और मैंने आपको बताया दिया बिकॉज ऑफ क्वाड. एक तो इंडो पैसिफिक हो गया, ऊपर से बिकॉज वी हैव क्रिएटेड अ कोलिशन इंक्लूडिंग अमेरिका, इंडिया, जापान, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, दैट इज कॉल्ड क्वाड. It is in the process, or maybe over time it can become like अमेरिका का गोल तो यही है. अमेरिका wants Quad to become Asian NATO. NATO is, जैसे आपने बोला था, क्या था NATO? Collective defense. NATO is the idea of collective defense. Collective defense and collective security are two different ideas. Collective security operationalized at the level of world, and collective security में all countries are the member. Collective defense, you can say, is a small collective security. Collective defense में anyone who signs a treaty protects each other. For example, anyone who is a member of NATO. It was initiated by Washington Treaty. Washington Treaty was signed and NATO was created. So all member of NATO gives mutual guarantee to each other. Clear है सबको? तो what is the main goal of America regarding Quad? America wants Quad to become Asian NATO. And because of Quad and Indo-Pacific kinds of idea, China was feeling a kind of isolated, secluded. And because of this, according to Sushant Singh, China has tried to expand BRICS. Clear सबको? That is his analysis. अगला हर्षवी पंत. The next scholar is Harshvi Pant. According to Harshvi Pant, Beijing viewed BRICS as geopolitical counterweight to Western dominated G7. G7 is a group of 7 countries that include advanced countries, majorly Western countries. One is Japan. East में Japan है उसमें, but remaining countries are West, and more or less it is a advanced capitalist bloc. And everyone knows it does the bidding of America. And because of this, according to Harshvi Pant, China views BRICS as a counterweight to G7. Clear सबको? अगला point देखते हैं. Jim O'Neill. Who is this person? He is the person who coined the word BRIC. He was an economist at, I think, Goldman Sachs. It's a credit rating agency. What is a credit rating agency? It gives ratings to securities. आप economy में पढ़ेंगे. Economy में you will study about bond, shares and all. Bond क्या होता है? It's a promise of loan. It's a paper in which you write, I promise to pay the bearer this much of rupee at this point of time through this interest. Very good example, rupee in your pocket. जो रुपया आप लेके घूमते हैं, it is a bond. उस पर देखा ना, गवर्नर का लिखा होता है, I promise to pay the bearer this much of rupee, गवर्नर का साइन. It's a bond between RBI and the holder of rupee. समझ में आया? It's a kind of loan that you have given to RBI एक प्रकार से. That's the philosophy here. So bonds जो होते हैं ना, they require some kind of guarantee by somebody. मतलब for example, if I float a bond of 100 crore rupees, तो क्या लोग खरीद लेंगे 100 करोड़ का? नहीं. But if I get a guarantee by government of India, मान लो the government of India signs on my bond saying, if this person does not pay, I will pay. So of course anyone will buy. तो ऐसी तरीके से हमारे पास एजेंसी होती है जिन्हें हम बोलते हैं क्रेडिट रेटिंग एजेंसी. सबको समझ में? what are CRAs are credit rating agencies that give guarantees to bonds, or even they provide rating to countries regarding countries worthiness of investment. जैसे आप लोग करंट अफेयर में आए दिन सुनते हैं sovereign rating. क्या बात सुना है ना आपने कि India's sovereign rating has increased, has decreased. So we are talking about a rating given by a credit rating agency. Clear हो रहा है यहाँ तक? So credit rating agency, he used to work there, Jim O'Neill, and he coined the word BRIC. BRICS नहीं था, he coined the word BRIC. He emphasized that these are the 4 countries that by 2050 will become the growth engine of the world. इसने emphasize किया था. I think he wrote that paper in 2001 in which he coined the word BRIC, and he said that these countries put together by 2050 will be the growth engine of the world, leaving behind US and every other country. That was his emphasis. So we got this idea from him, and then we added later on by 2010 South Africa, and it became BRICS. So basically it was his idea that we capitalized on it, and the year was very significant. जो हम नीचे पढ़ेंगे वैसे, the year was why 2009? Because 2008 May, you will study in economics also. 2008 May there was a severe economic crisis. It started with US, and all these countries thought it is the right time to lecture the West. The West would lecture the East, na, कि you do this, you do that. We will lecture you how to run a global economic affairs. In that context, they coined BRIC. Clear है सबको? अब let's see what he is saying. He says the decision does not appear to have any clear objective. He says, according to him, that BRICS expansion does not make any sense to him. He, in his article, emphasized when I coined the idea BRIC, when he coined the idea BRIC, he was trying to emphasize on the country that will become the growth engine by 2050. He says that BRICS 11 make no sense because there are a lot of countries in BRICS 11 which will never become the growth engine of the world. So what is BRICS is not clear, according to him. Okay, that's why BRICS is often known as motley cow. What West country says that BRICS is nothing more than motley. Motley cow means a cow made by fixing this and that element. When you fix uncompatible element into one object, that is called motley cow. They say the only glue that keeps BRICS together is anti-West agenda. Clear है सबको? ठीक है. Next, In terms of purchasing power parity, the BRICS is slightly larger than G7 in terms of purchasing power. Purchasing power parity, you also study in economics. Purchasing power parity is a concept that is used to see how people in two countries can buy something. Basically, what you do, you take a particular kind of basket of goods. मान लेते हैं sandwich. You will take a sandwich in two countries, exactly same, no difference in quality or quantity. Then you see how much an American spent to buy that sandwich, how much an Indian spent to buy that sandwich. Based on that, you compare their purchasing power. ठीक है, डिटेल में फिलहाल हम नहीं जा सकते. तो on purchasing power, basically he argues that BRICS is powerful than G7. The group remains significantly smaller than its advanced economic counterpart when measured to nominal GDP. The two GDPs, GDP PPP, GDP, that is gross domestic product. The entire value of goods and services produced in a country is called GDP. So GDP PPP terms में BRICS is better than G7. In nominal terms में it is worse than G7 particularly. Clear है? Next point. So comparison is very important. Comparison between BRICS and G7 is very important. It may be asked in interview or especially in mains. China is now the world's second largest economy. We already know that. India is poised to become the third largest democracy by the end of the decade. Right now, we are the fifth largest economy. So none of BRICS have performed anywhere near well, according to him, except these two countries. You cannot find any other example in entire BRICS which are performing well. वही बात मैंने बोली ना. He is saying BRICS 11 does not make sense. Economically, he is talking about. Because when he coined the idea BRIC, he was emphasizing on the country that will become the growth engine of the world by 2050. Except these two countries, none of the country makes sense. Because Russia cannot become growth engine now. It is going backward. A war always lead to backwardness. ठीक है. Next point. China dominates BRIC. ये तो मैंने आपको बता ही दिया था. China dominates BRIC along with Russia. So does US dominate G7. पहले बताया मैंने को G7 में US dominate, BRICS में China dominates. America and China both dominate their respective institution even more. It means, according to him, neither G7 nor BRICS, expanded or otherwise, will make much sense for tackling global challenges. तो ये लास्ट जेमुनील का एनालिसिस ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. अपर एनालिसिस ऑफ द स्कॉलर वाज पॉलिटिकल इन नेचर. दिस इज द इकोनॉमिक एनालिसिस ऑफ द ब्रिक्स. क्लियर है? ऑल दिस एनालिसिस रिमेंबर. बाकी व्हाट इज इंडियाज इंटरेस्ट मैंने आपको बता दिया था. इंडिया डज नॉट वांट ब्रिक्स टू बी सीन एज अ वेस्टर्न प्लेटफॉर्म. मैंने आपको पहले बताया था चाइना वांट्स टू प्रोजेक्ट ब्रिक्स एज अ एंटी वेस्ट प्लेटफॉर्म. India does not want that because India wants to balance its relation with China, BRICS and West. India is moving toward West, I told you. ठीक है. Last जल्दी से देखते हैं. With respect to Indian context, Ankit Tiwari. Ankit Tiwari is a researcher at Council of Strategic and Defense Research. He has emphasized the expansion creates a tricky situation for India. वो जो मैंने आपको समझाया, it's a very tricky situation for India now. Now, India has Delhi's strategic and economic relation with the West. India is moving towards the West, both economically and militarily, especially United States. And adding to this, Pant argues that India's presence there moderates the chances of BRICS becoming an anti-West platform. So there are two problems you see. पहला तो ये है कि India is very concerned. On the one hand, you have to balance BRICS, which China want to project as an anti-West platform. And you are going toward West. You are a member of Quad, which is a grouping against China. You are a member of BRICS, which is a grouping against US. So India has a very tricky situation to balance various ideas. वैसे Indo-Pacific में मैंने आपको समझाया था. Indo-Pacific में India loves that idea because it gives prominence to India in the world. But it is concerned that how China and Russia will react, and they have reacted very negatively to this idea. तो India इस प्रॉब्लम में बहुत फंसा हुआ है. Nonetheless, देखते क्या होता है. So what India will be able to do is to be seen. According to him, how India will balance these two different priorities, going near to US and the West, and then remaining in ideas like BRICS, AIAB and all. So how it will balance this, it is to be seen. Clear है? ठीक है. बाकी ये मैंने इसमें डाल दिया है. This all things you already have. Previous class में भी ये सब हमने करा था. What is BRICS, how it is coined, significance of year 2009. This I told you recently. strength वगैरह, these things you can read. चलिए क्लियर है, बाकी थिंग्स तो यू कैन रीड, नॉट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, फैक्चुअल डेटा, रीड दैट, द मेन थिंग आई हैव टोल्ड यू. क्लियर? कोई क्वेश्चन किसी का नहीं है? चल हाँ, कहाँ पे बता रहे हैं? लगभग कर देना अराउंड 40. मैं फिर बताता हूँ, एक चीज याद रखिए, यूपीएससी डज नॉट केयर अबाउट एग्जैक्ट फैक्ट्स. डेटा जो होता है ना, यूपीएससी इज नॉट अ स्टैटिस्टिकल एग्जाम. यूपीएससी इज अबाउट अ पॉलिसी एग्जाम. दे आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, नॉट स्टैटिस्टिशियन. सो डू नॉट केयर अबाउट एग्जैक्ट डेटा. कोई भी डेटा हो, आपको एग्जैक्ट याद नहीं करना, यूपीएससी पूछता भी नहीं है. ऑल यू हैव टू रिमेंबर इज रफ डेटा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इंडिया पॉपुलेशन इज अराउंड 140. किसी को एग्जैक्ट थोड़ी ना पता है, एग्जैक्ट तो कुछ भी हो सकता है. तो वेर एवर यू हैव अ डेटा, ऑल यू हैव टू नो इज अराउंड फिगर, नियर डेटा. ये नहीं कि कुछ भी लिख रहे हैं, ये भी नहीं चलेगा. अराउंड करिए और एब्स्ट्रैक्ट डेटा दे दीजिए. आइडिया सही होना चाहिए, ये नहीं कि कुछ भी लिखना है. अगर आप लिखेंगे अराउंड 40 to 45 चलेगा. क्लियर टू एवरीवन? एग्जैक्ट डेटा आर नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. नेक्स्ट न्यूज इज वेरी 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 इंपॉर्टेंट. डू दिस इन डिटेल and you do not need anything else about this. It's very 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 important because UPSC has some favorite topics. Particularly of them is poverty, inequality, nutrition, women. These are the very favorite topic of UPSC. हर बार कुछ ना कुछ पूछता है. So with this news in the context of Lucy Letby, she was a former British nurse who has been sentenced imprisonment because she killed a lot of children there. Children who are born there, no, so she killed them basically. Maybe a psychopath or something. Okay, so she has been sentenced to imprisonment. So that is not very important. Nobody will ask. But from this comes childcare in mind. This is, I always told, there's a lot of event in IR which are not relevant for UPSC, but they're spin-offs. They're spin-offs. They are very important. So we will discuss that. Pehla, patient safety measures in India. According to the document titled National Patient Safety Implementation Framework, it was published by Union Health Ministry. Patient safety refers to ensuring patients are shielded from unnecessary harm or potential harm related to provision of health care. But there is a problem in India because India mein there is no direct accountability of doctors. India mein there is no law that puts doctors in direct accountability. अगर मान लेते हैं, there are a lot of operation that goes wrong, not because the case was critical, but because the doctor was idiot. अब हर दिन सुनते हैं ना, some doctor left something inside the body, that left something inside the body. So that's the big problem. So we need a law over that, but doctors' lobby is very powerful. Doctors' lobby is very powerful. Whenever government thinks of bringing a bill to bring this kind of things under purview of criminal justice, they protest hugely. And उनकी लॉबी बहुत ही ज्यादा पावरफुल है. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दिस गवर्नमेंट इज अनेबल टू ब्रिंग अ गुड लॉ. तो नंदलेस जो भी है, यही कहानी है फिलहाल हमारे पास. आपने शायद ये वर्ड सुना होगा, हिपोक्रेटिक ओथ. अ डॉक्टर टेक्स, दे विल नेवर लीव अ पेशेंट अनअटेंडेड, वगैरह 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 वगैरह. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट थिंग दैट यू कैन यूज इज कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट, बट दिस अप्लाइज नॉट इन केस ऑफ ऑपरेशंस एंड अदर थिंग. इट अप्लाइज इन केस ऑफ एनी मेडिकल नेग्लिजेंस एंड inadequacy of medical services, because Consumer Protection Act provide you protection in case of all services. So of course, when you go to a doctor, they provide you a medical services. So you can claim a damage, but monetary damage, nothing more than that. Apart from that, you have a Clinical Establishment Act that talks about patients' legal right. If you have gone to any hospital, good hospitals, तो वहाँ पे बाहर they always paste the rights of patients. Okay, that rights of patient basically comes from Clinical Establishment Act. Last is National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, NAPPA, we call it in short, NPPA. NPP. This is a very important body. It regulates prices. It regulates prices of medicines and medical equipment. Otherwise, you can sell them for any price. So they regulate under the order known under the Drug Controller General of India. So what is the role of NPPA? Regulating the prices of medicines and medical equipment, keep them affordable. ठीक है. So these are some rights that a patient may enjoy, legal framework वगैरह वगैरह. Not very important. This is the most important part we are starting. Infant mortality ratio. So what is infant mortality ratio? The different form of infant mortality ratio are perinatal, neonatal and postnatal mortality. the three natal infant mortality ratio में you have three mortality ratios. First is perinatal. Perinatal means, और prelims के लिए बहुत important है ये. Prelims में UPSC can directly ask which of the following represent perinatal mortality. तो directly पूछ लेता, तो please remember them as it is. The perinatal mortality refers to the death of a fetus or a baby between 28 weeks of gestation and the first week of birth. 28 weeks since gestation and first week of birth. If a baby dies or a fetus dies, then it is known as perinatal mortality. Next is neonatal. Neonatal is the death of baby occurring within 28 days of its birth, मतलब within a month मान लीजिए. Next is post neonatal mortality. It is the death of a baby between 29 days and 1 year. From 1 year to 5 year, child mortality. इसमें नीचे होगा child mortality. Child mortality is mortality of the under 5. तो कैसे start करें? 28 weeks since gestation to 1 week of birth, perinatal. Within 1 month, मतलब 1 week to 1 month, neonatal. 1 month to 1 year, post neonatal. 1 year to 5 year, child. ठीक है? Please remember the sequence. अब let's see what is the status. The IMR in India stands at 26 around. अभी इतना फिगर किसी को याद नहीं रखना. Just remember around 26 या 27 चल जाएगा. Around 26 deaths per 1000 live births in 2023, a decline from 2022. ठीक है, good record. UNICEF CMR child mortality is 30.6 per 1000 birth. Main concerning thing is the first 28 days of life, that is neonatal, are critical, as evident by the fact 47% of all child mortality are neonatal. 47% is a big figure. So all the child that die within 5 years, basically 47% of those, लगभग half मान के चलिए, half of them dies within 1 month. Neonatal deaths. That तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? Where we have to focus in child health? In neonatal. और मैं always remember, मैंने पहले भी शायद बताया है, 1 rupee you invest in a child is 100 rupees in return. There are two options you have. Either you invest 1 rupee in child nutrition, or you invest 1000 rupee in hospital when that child will grow up under nutrition. So you have two options. You can choose anyone, and investment in child is always better. Nearly 1/3 of neonatal deaths happen on the day of birth, and around 3/4 occur within initial week. So say एक बात तो हमें समझ में आ गई from this analysis, that the most important part of child health care is neonatal. Focusing there should be the prime point of any healthy society. ठीक है, some additional information है ये, you can read IMR, what is the status. ठीक है, आप घर पे पढ़ लेना. अब main चीज हमें पढ़ना है why. So we have understood few things so far. पहला, what is infant mortality, types of infant mortality. In that we understood neonatal mortality is the biggest concern. अब now we have to understand why there is neonatal mortality or child mortality. The first is illiteracy. This is a very big concern. According to comprehensive National Nutrition Survey data, 53%, that is more than half, of the mothers surveyed had no education at all. यहाँ पे no education का मतलब ये नहीं है that you have education in terms of writing or something. Education about childbirth and other kind of things we are talking about. So 53% of the mothers have no education at all. As a result, new moms and pregnant women lacking the foundation pregnancy and postnatal care. समझ में? यहाँ पे लिटरेसी का मतलब हम उससे बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. वैसे तो इंडिया 74 लिटरेसी, 69% आई थिंक इन वुमेन है, कोई ऐसी कुछ है. इंडिया हैज अराउंड 74% लिटरेसी रेट, जिसमें 84 आई थिंक मेल का है और 64 समथिंग वुमेन का है. दिस इज टॉकिंग अबाउट चाइल्ड केयर एंड ऑल. So more than half have no understanding whatsoever, and because of this they lack the foundation of pregnancy and postpartum care. It exposes a child to the greater risk of infection. ठीक है? So this is one of the most important point. Second is timely access to health facilities. The problem in India's health services is we have a problem, a phenomena. और ये सारा किसकी तरफ से? नाम याद रखिएगा. Lancet Medical Journal. It's a very credible journal. आप you can ask any doctor. The doctors होते हैं. It's a very credible journal of medicine, and they often read this. If it is saying something, it is acknowledged around the world. No question asked. Next is timely access to healthcare facility. The problem that Lancet Medical Journal emphasizes in India's child care is too little, too late, too much, too soon. This is the problem it has emphasized. Too little, too late, too much, too soon. What is too little, too late? That is prenatal care before the birth of child. Prenatal care is India mein very late. Often the woman goes to the hospital or wherever very late in the stage of pregnancy. They should go as soon as the pregnancy begin, so that they have proper course of development. ठीक है. First, postnatal care India में is too much. समझ में आ रहा है? The prenatal care before the birth is India में is very weak, because the woman often goes to the doctors very late in their usually they go into their third trimester when the pregnancy is very obvious. They should go at least in the second trimester. Clear hai? And India mein the postnatal care is too much. So we have to deal with this problem of too little, too late, and too much, too soon. Next is issue with pregnancy. ये तो शायद मैंने आपको पहले भी कई बार बताया. I told you the child's 1000 days on earth are the very critical. पहले भी मैंने आपको बताया, if you invest 1 rupee in child, you get 1000 rupees in return. The thing is, nutrition is very important. And nutrition, I'm not talking about the junk. Eating food is something, having nutrition is something else. If you eat a particular kind of food, I have always said, eat a wholesome food. It should include veggies, fruits, and everything. The nutrition should be proper. Having good food is very important. So the first 1000 days on earth are very critical. Neonatal mortality is the most important indicator of in utero nutrition. In utero nutrition, that is pregnancy they are talking about. During pregnancy, what a woman eat, that directly reflects to the child, and that is very critical. और यहीं पे सबको information नहीं होती. बात समझा? What is the biggest problem? यहाँ पे we need to educate, the government need to put efforts to make them aware. कई सारे programs हैं which I have listed later, उसे भी देख लेंगे हम. And India में with respect to India's economic development, India has high neonatal mortality rate. Clear? तो हमने we have seen few problems. पहला था हमारा illiteracy, second timely access to health services, issue with pregnancy में. ये मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया था. The biggest cause of death in India, one is the nutrition, what they eat. The other biggest cause is low birth weight. मैंने बताया था the women in India either begin their pregnancy at low weight or they do not gain sufficient weight during pregnancy. The recommended is 12.5 to 18 kgs. The recommended according to WHO, a woman should get during pregnancy is 12.5 to 18 kgs. But India mein average is 7 kg. And the biggest problem is not only absence of nutrition. वो तो है ही है problem. Another problem मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया था, a new culture of slim and trim. This bebo culture so called has come in. ये भी एक problem बनता जा रहा है. They want to stay slim and trim. It's a very big problem. And breastfeeding में जहाँ तक बात आती है, there is a big problem that has been highlighted. The women nowadays are not preferring breastfeeding since birth, after birth. उनको stretch marks की ज़्यादा tension है, बच्चे की नहीं. Or it's becoming very, very important concern. It should not be the part of culture, but it is becoming the part of culture, and it is rapidly increasing. ये पहले developed countries में होता था. ठीक है. Another problem is India में cesarean बढ़ता जा रहा है, natural birth घट रही है. A natural birth that should take place, cesarean मतलब होता है C-section, आपको पता होगा, that cuts on the above the ovaries and they remove the kid. So that is increasing in India. It's another concern that women fear giving natural birth. It includes pain, but it is more favorable, more desirable than cesarean. सबको समझ में आ रहा है? तो these are some cultural problems. इसका केवल न्यूट्रिशन से लेना देना नहीं है. न्यूट्रिशन इज आल्सो अ प्रॉब्लम. न्यूट्रिशन में पर्टिकुलरली कौन सी प्रॉब्लम है? IVI, मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया था. Iodine, vitamin, and iron is the biggest problem. Clear? So please remember this. Next issue is open defecation. Open defecation, we understand there are two kinds of immunity that a person enjoy. One is called innate, one is called acquired. Immunity against disease, there are two kinds, innate and acquired. Innate, what you get since birth, and that very much depend upon the mother. What kind of nutrition she has, what kind of antibody she has, that directly leads to the innate immunity in the kid, that the child is born. After the child is born comes the acquired immunity. For this, government has immunization program, जो नीचे मैंने लिस्ट करे हैं. Most important, Indradhanush scheme, Indradhanush mission. ये दोनों अलग अलग है, कंफ्यूज मत करना. इंद्रधनुष स्कीम इज फॉर बैंकिंग रिफॉर्म्स. It has 7 component of banking reforms. इंद्रधनुष मिशन is for immunization. दोनों अलग अलग है, ठीक है. इंद्रधनुष स्कीम is for banking, इंद्रधनुष mission is for immunization. That basically aims to immunize all children and lactating pregnant women. Clear? Please remember that. So open defecation problem क्या होता है? When the children's, because they do not have acquired immunity, they only have innate immunity whichever they got from the mother. The child is born, and if there is open defecation, then you have flies. The flies sit on the feces and all, then they absorb the feces, they go sit on the food. अब आपको तो कचरा खाने की आदत है, हम लोग तो खा लेंगे. if we eat, हम सब खाते हैं ना गोलगप्पे, उसमें एक्स्ट्रा मसाला लगाता है वो हाथ से, ठीक है. so that you can eat, and we are habitual of eating junk. तो हमारा केस अलग है, we have acquired immunity now. But a kid who is just born, that kid does not have the acquired immunity. In that cases, when the fly sits on the feces, goes to the food and sit on the food, it pollutes the food. We are habitual, so we do not face any problem. But a newly born kid is not habitual. And that's why you can praise Modi government in this. Swachh Bharat. A very beautiful, very successful, and very required initiative of Modi government. Very important initiative. Clear? तो ये कुछ एनालिसिस था. इट इज प्रेजेंटेड बाय द लैंसेट जर्नल एज वेल एज इकोनॉमिक सर्वे दैट इंडिया में ओपन डेफिकेशन इज फाउंड टू बी मोर कॉमन देन पुअर अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज. स्वच्छ भारत से पहले का डेटा है वैसे तो ये. स्वच्छ भारत में इट हैज रीच टू 90%, बट देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम स्टिल इन स्वच्छ भारत. फर्स्ट प्रॉब्लम इज द टाइप ऑफ लैट्रिन्स दैट वी प्रमोट. यहाँ पे लिखा होगा, हाँ, even the houses that have working latrines, the people do not use them. Why they do not use them? Because it involves a process of clearing the pit every year. Understand, urban areas have sewage system. The sewage system that you see, na, gutter system, it is in urban areas. Rural areas mein you cannot provide sewage system because there you have villages that too far fetched. Urban areas mein kya hota hai, the concentrated population is there, तो आप sewage system बना सकते हैं. रूरल एरियाज में सीवेज सिस्टम बनाना बहुत ही कॉस्टली अफेयर्स है. गांव विलेजेस जो होते हैं, दे आर वेरी फार फेच्ड, देन यू हैव टू कनेक्ट देम फ्रॉम द सीवेज सिस्टम. इट इज वर्चुअली इम्पॉसिबल. सो फॉर दैट व्हाट गवर्नमेंट प्रमोट इज पिट सिस्टम. व्हाट हैपेंस, यू हैव अ लैट्रिन दैट इज कनेक्टेड टू अ पाइपिंग सिस्टम टू अ पिट, अंडरग्राउंड पिट. दैट पिट ऑफ कोर्स विल फिल ओवर टाइम. देन यू हैव टू क्लीन द पिट. अब द प्रॉब्लम हियर इज इंडिया हैज अ कास्ट सिस्टम. यहां पे प्रॉब्लम फंस जाती है. इंडिया हैज अ caste system, and this caste system, it is assumed that the Dalits are the people who will clear the pits. आपको अगर पता हो तो even the Brahmins, बहुत बड़ा resistance था इंडिया में. The Brahmin, the particularly upper caste, the Janayu, आपने देखा होगा ना, that white thread जो होता है, that is called Upanyan. Arts and culture में you will study Upanyan practice. That basically represent you can study. When the child is born, you reach to a particular age, there is a yag or something. After that, you get a sacred thread, the white thread you have seen with the pandits. That thread represents you can study. Anyone who does not have that thread cannot study. That was the philosophy in Hinduism. In this, the lower caste cannot have that ceremony. Upper caste have that. Upper caste believe, particularly Brahmins believe, that if you have a latrine in your house, you're polluting your house. They say, normal saying is, where you have a tulsi, you cannot have a toilet. Usually villages may they have a tulsi plant in their courtyard, so they say wherever you have a tulsi you cannot have a toilet. Ab this is a big problem. एक तो पहला तो उनसे टॉयलेट बनवाओ, ऊपर से हैविंग टॉयलेट इन द हाउस इज अ पॉल्यूशन. आपने देखा होगा, इफ यू हैव सीन दैट, दे वो कान पे ऐसे बांध लेते हैं whenever they do anything. जब भी थोड़ा चकना वकना खाना होता है तो ऐसे करके बांध लेते हैं, फिर वो आराम से पूजा करते हैं, फिर एक पैक लगाते हैं, ठीक है. so that process में the thing here is कि they, एक तो उन्हें पता है वो बुरा है, पर फिर भी वो बांध के काम करना ही करना है, because that's a basic necessity anyway. So this is the problem. समझ में आ रहा है सबको? Caste problem India has, and because of caste problem, emptying the pits becomes very severe problem. तो गवर्नमेंट को उसके लिए, गवर्नमेंट इज प्रमोटिंग सम गोबर गैस काइंड ऑफ स्कीम दैट you can have that pit, and that pit can be used as a composite की तरह बना सकते हैं, बट टाइम लगेगा. एंड कुछ लोगों को नेचुरल हवा पसंद होती है, ठीक है, तो दे एनीवे गो टू द, कहते हैं, फार्म्स एंड ऑल. बात समझ में आ रहा है? So even when you have the sanitary latrines in your house, the problem is the pit system. that has to be cleaned every few years is complexed by India's concept of untouchability. So it's a social problem. In this, Modi government has done wonders. You can literally praise the government. तो उसमें particularly देखिए मोदी जी was himself cleaning that क्या बोलते हैं the street. And why Gandhi ji is the brand ambassador of Swachh Bharat? किसी को पता है? Yes, because he used to clean his own house. Gandhi, he was such a big leader. If he asked anyone to come and clean the house, तो लोग free में साफ कर जाते घर उसका पैसे से भी, ठीक है? But understand this: why he used to clean his house? For two reasons. पहला, he wants to emphasize that cleaning your house is a thing that everyone should do. I am, that is Gandhi, upper caste person, still believes that cleaning house is as sacred as leading a nation. So he was trying to compare two big things. Cleaning a house, he was trying to compare with leading a nation. He was to emphasize it is that important, and that's why Gandhi is the ambassador. The second reason was he was trying to emphasize that every work is necessary and every work is equal. That is called the Gandhian theory of bread and labor. He says the work of a barber is as important as the work of a lawyer. ठीक है, बात समझ में आया? तो that's why Gandhi is praised around the world. अब कुछ लोगों को पसंद ना हो एक अलग बात है, but nonetheless his philosophy is very deep. तो सबको समझ में आया? That's why Gandhi ji's goggles आपने देखा होगा. That's the symbol or the insignia of Swachh Bharat. Nonetheless, very beautiful program. You can literally praise Modi government for that. तो यहाँ तक समझ में आया? You have sanitary latrine. A lot of places does not have that. Whichever place have that, they have a pit system. The pit has to be clean, and you have untouchability problem, so they are not clean. Now they go in open. The feces, the fly sits there. They go to the food. The food basically ills the kid and dies easily. And why they dies? There's a problem. कहाँ गया? Tropical enteropathy. If a kid get ill often because of this nutrition problem, then the system, देखिए for example, if I come and slap you on one face, तो आप unaware थे, you were like okay fine अगली बार देख लूंगा, ठीक है? Next time I come and slap you are like ये तो habit बन गया है. So third time क्या होगा? You have a better defense. The second I will come, you will start हाँ भाई कहाँ से आने वाला है. Understand this? That's what happened to your body if you eat too much junk. So the kid who get ill often, the stomach and the intestine starts to fear food. समझ में आ रहा है? If the body gets ill too much ना, so the stomach and the intestine, they develop a fear of the food. If a kid eat a food, the intestine fears, shall I absorb nutrients out of it or not? What if there is a disease there? That is called tropical enteropathy. सबको समझ में आया? इससे नुकसान क्या है? Once you achieve, if a kid gets ill too much, then that kid get tropical enteropathy, and in that scenario, even if the kid is getting properly nutritious food, no profit, because the body will nevertheless not absorb it. Clear है सबको? That is the tropical enteropathy, chronic inflammatory response of the intestine to repeated exposure to germs that interferes with child absorption of nutrients. ठीक है, क्लियर है? तो मैं एक बार समरी देता हूँ because there were a lot of things. Again, I have dedicated a lot of time on this. Please do this. इसके अलावा कुछ मत करना, comprehensive है. So first issue is illiteracy. Second, timely access to health. Something Lancet Journal says too little, too late, too much, too soon. Issue with pregnancy, particularly your IVI problem, and then this low birth weight problem. Open defecation में the tropical enteropathy is the problem, and this all leads to high neonatal death. Even the kids who survive, they suffer their entire life. That's why government of India introduced midday meal. Midday meal के दो reason थे. One reason was when we said send your kid to the school, the people said how can we send a kid to the school, we don't have the money. That kid has to go to some farm or something, has to work with me. आप देखिए majority of this dhabas and all you go to, वहाँ पे छोटू होता है कोई ना कोई, that is often the relative. So they want that kid to work so that they can sustain the life. So government ने बोला okay fine, you have a problem of food ना, I will provide the food. You just send your kid to the school. So we achieve two targets. First, the kid is in the school because the parents feel at least I do not have to earn food for my kid. Government provides that, and government makes sure it is nutritious. particularly Karnataka carried out an Karnataka या Telangana carried, मेरे को याद नहीं आता दोनों में से, तो they carried out an experiment in which they started providing eggs. Very नहीं, Telangana था शायद, मुझे याद नहीं. तो eggs were very nutritious. It's a wholesome amino acids. So egg was very nutritious. But then हमारे देश में कुछ लोग हैं, they're like you're trying to pollute the Hindus into something. करने कुछ नहीं आने वाले. If those kids are dying, तो कोई नहीं आने वाला. So it was proven कि by providing just a simple 2 boiled eggs or 1 egg in the midday meal, there was enhancement in nutrition. तो बहुत अच्छा इनिशिएटिव था. बट फिर वही ब्राह्मणिज्म केम्स इनटू प्ले एंड द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. ठीक है, हम ब्राह्मण हैं, हम तो कुछ नहीं खाते, हम प्याज नहीं खाते, तो हमें अंडा खिलाओगे. तो एनीवे अब क्या कर सकते हैं, बट न्यूट्रिशन आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, तो इट शुड बी द पार्ट. तो मिड डे मील स्कीम इज वेरी वंडरफुल स्कीम. ठीक है, स्टिल वी नीड टू फोकस ऑन प्रीनेटल केयर and most important increasing awareness about the necessity of prenatal care. ठीक है, clear है? That is the thing that is still left out. चलिए आगे देख लेते हैं. Case study I have done, case study child nutrition in India. So it's a case study based on a survey, NFHS 5th survey. This is the latest report. NFHS is National Family Health Survey. The latest report of NFHS, National Family Health Survey. So there is a case study I have carried out on that. So उसको लिख दिया मैंने इसमें. According to NFHS, child nutrition is judged on 3 factors. जैसे हमने पढ़ा था infant mortality, there are 3 parameters. Child nutrition has 3 factors. First is stunting. Stunting means age appropriate height criteria. Second, wasting. Age appropriate weight criteria. Means stunting means if you do not have a height according to your age, then you are undernutrition or stunted. Wasting means when you do not have a weight according to your age, height nahi. When you do not have weight according to your age, wasting. Underweight is when you have your age versus height criteria. According to your age, you must have a height, and according to that, you must have a weight. इसी को मिला के बोलते हैं, शायद आपने कभी सुना हो, body mass index. Body mass index is a very important parameter. ठीक है, clear? What is NFHS? NFHS, what they found? According to NFHS, since 1999 particularly, India was doing better and better. Means every year the nutrition in India, the nutrition in India was getting better, thereby improving condition. But for the first time, what has happened? For the first time, the trend has reversed. And why? That is what Purnima Menon has talked about. Purnima Menon, she is a scholar, belongs to International Food Policy Research Institute. She analyzed this NFHS data and she highlighted the main reason why in NFHS data there is a decline of nutrition for the first time since 1999. The reason was 3. Pehla, according to her, a child nutrition has 3 legs. It's a table or a stool with 3 legs. The 3 legs are sanitation, government support for nutrition, and family income. Sanitation में government is doing very good. Government support for nutrition is average. यहाँ problem थी सबसे बड़ी, family income. According to her, if the family income declines or become unbalanced, since if the family income declines, this stool which has 3 legs becomes unbalanced. Since India's demonetization, family income has been declining in India. मैंने आपको पहले भी समझाया, demonetization was a utter stupidity. It has no benefit whatsoever. It has only losses to India. It destroyed India's economy. It destroyed India's unorganized sector. It destroyed India's child nutrition status. It brought unemployment to India. So demonetization does not have even a single benefit. That's why BJP never talks about it. आपने सुना कभी भी उनके मुंह से demonetization word नहीं निकलता. And this happened. Why demonetization happened? Because Modi ji had a dream and he did not consult with anyone in dreams. Okay, if he would have consulted, this is what Raghuram Rajan, the former RBI governor, has said, that what is the biggest problem in India right now? Concentration of power. One man cannot govern entire India. India is vast, India is diverse. The requirement of a citizen in Delhi will surely be different from a citizen in Tamil Nadu. The requirement of a person in Tamil Nadu will surely be different from a requirement of a person in Nagaland. It's diverse, it's vast. You cannot govern it in a centralized manner. ठीक है, तो demonetization, that's why is the problem. Clear है? तो few things you have to remember. पहला तो ये child nutrition has 3 lakhs, sanitation, government support for nutrition and family income, and the child nutrition is judged on 3 parameters: stunting, wasting and underweight vis-a-vis age and height. ठीक है, ये सारा बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, मैं फिर बोल रहा हूँ बार बार, इट्स वेरी 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 इंपॉर्टेंट, तो डिटेल में से रट लेना. अब चलो देखते हैं गवर्नमेंट के एफर्ट्स. So we have seen infant mortality, types of infant mortality. Then we saw issues why infant mortality is happening. Then we saw the child nutrition status, the parameter of child nutrition, and the three-legged stool of child nutrition. Now we are at the government efforts. Next, first is National Plan of Action for Children, NPAC. It was launched in 2017 by Ministry of Women and Child Development. It has 4 key priority areas. Number 1 is survival of a child, health and nutrition, education and development, protection and participation. So the 4 areas this plan is focusing on is survival, health and nutrition, education, development and protection and participation. The plan put focus on new and emerging concerns for children, particularly online child abuse. It has become very 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 common in India. आप कहीं भी देख लीजिए, you can see any profile, particularly if you are a person who is vocal on social media, आप किसी भी comment section में चले जाइए, you will find dirt there. This online abuse is becoming very common. There are a lot of people in depression because of this online abuse. और आजकल morphed picture बहुत बन जाती है, because everyone put their social media account में you put your photos and everyone, and आजकल technology is so easy. They can paste anyone's photo on anyone, and that's how the videos are made. Blackmailing is happening. So online child sexual abuse is very common nowadays. So this plan focuses on this trend also. Okay, other things are disaster and climate change. Okay, so it's a very climate change affects children. Na? Climate change is the disasters that are happening. Any disaster, who is the biggest victim? Children and women. They are always the first victim of any war and disaster. The action plan largely draws upon existing programs and various scheme of the ministry, whatever, not very important. ये important है, देखिए हर जगह आ जाता है. SDG comes everywhere. मैंने आपको बार बार बोला है, rot learn SDGs. The 17 SDG with 169 goals. Rot goals मत करिएगा, but at least rot learn SDGs by heart. आपको पता होना चाहिए एक SDG by heart. What is the SDG? General idea about the indicators. 169 indicators are there. आप नहीं कर पाओगे, but know what is government is doing. What are the government efforts on SDGs? What is the status and what is the way forward? SDGs is very compulsory. कहीं ना कहीं आप इसे लिख ही लोगे, ठीक है. Next is sustainable development goal. मैंने आपको बता ही दिया था. SDG में SDG 3 जो है, it aims to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. SDG 3. Next, Janani Suraksha Yojana. It was launched by 2005. Latest a report was published. It has been highly successful. What is this? In Janani Suraksha Yojana, if a woman goes for an institutional delivery, पहले क्या होता था, women do not prefer to go for an institutional delivery. They used to deliver at home. होते हैं नानी वानी जो कहते हैं, नैनी वैनी जो भी होती थी, दाई अम्मा. Yes, in North we call them दाई अम्मा. So by use of them, they used to deliver. अब this was the problem. देखिए, that is not a sanitary place. Unhygienic conditions are involved, and that leads to the danger both to the mother as well as to the kid. That's why India used to have high mother mortality. So to prevent that, government brought in a scheme. Government said, fine, if you have some concern, I will give you money also. Just come to a government hospital. Everything is free. Remember this, in government hospital, कुछ काम होना हो, लेकिन जो डिलीवरी डिपार्टमेंट है वो बहुत अच्छा होता है. You can go to government hospital, वहाँ पे जो डिलीवरी मैकेनिज्म है बहुत अच्छे हैं. देखिए वहाँ पे ये प्रोवाइड अ कार्ड, मदर एंड चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कार्ड. इन दैट कार्ड दे ट्रेस एवरी टाइम कि आप इस विजिट पे आए नहीं आए, ये वैक्सीन लगवाई नहीं लगवाई, जैसे प्रॉपर ट्रेसमेंट. तो बहुत अच्छा मैकेनिज्म चल रहा है दिस मदर एंड चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कार्ड. एंड द ओनली थिंग द गवर्नमेंट वांट्स इज जस्ट कम टू अ हॉस्पिटल. बाकी सारा हम संभालेंगे। और रिमेंबर, गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट डूइंग अ फेवर टू एनीवन। कुछ लोगों को लगता है ना गवर्नमेंट इतना खर्च क्यों कर रही है, गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट डूइंग अ फेवर टू एनीवन, दैट इज द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, मतलब वेलफेयर गवर्नमेंट है ये। और इन्वेस्टिंग इन अ pregnant mother and a newly born kid always returns, because you have two options: either invest in them or then invest in hospitals, school, hire better teacher, have remedial classes, or invest early age. 1 rupee invest there or 1,000 rupee invest later. You have a choice. So government finds it cheaper. ये better भी है और cheaper भी है. Clear to everyone? So जननी सुरक्षा is a very beautiful scheme under Ministry of Family and अंडर मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हेल्थ एंड फैमिली वेलफेयर। तो फर्क समझिएगा, नाम इसमें जननी सुरक्षा है, लेकिन ये मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ चाइल्ड और वुमन की नहीं है, ठीक है? डू नॉट कंफ्यूज, इट्स अ स्कीम ऑफ मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हेल्थ एंड फैमिली वेलफेयर, नॉट द वुमन एंड चाइल्ड डेवलपमेंट मिनिस्ट्री। एंड इट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ नेशनल रूरल हेल्थ मिशन. There are two health mission: national rural health mission, national urban health mission. Combine them, there is national health mission. Government of India has a national health mission under which it provides vaccination, medicine, and a lot of things. और मैंने आपको बता ही दिया था, it aims to promote institutional deliveries. The cash assistance, मैंने आपको बताया ना, इसमें कैश मिलता है मदर्स को, ठीक है? तो कैश के लालच में ही सही, they come, but nonetheless it's very important. गवर्नमेंट थोड़ा कैश दे देती क्या जाता है, लेकिन इंस्टीट्यूशनल डिलीवरी हो जाती है, ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है इसमें, ठीक है? टू द मदर्स गिवन मेनली टू मीट द कॉस्ट ऑफ डिलीवरी एट द टाइम ऑफ डिलीवरी इंस्टीट्यूशन. आशास, द फुट सोल्जर ऑफ इंडिया, मैं वो पहले भी समझाया था. आशास, द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट, दे आर मोर इंपॉर्टेंट दैन द प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया हिमसेल्फ. दे आर सो इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर इंडिया. आशास, देख इसका नीचे शायद मैंने लिखा है इनके बारे में, तो मुझे याद है. अभी देखते हैं. और कैसी स्कीम है ये? 100% सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर. गवर्नमेंट गिव्स द एंटायर मनी, डज नॉट केयर, सेंट्रल सेक्टर बेसिकली, ठीक है? नेशनल डीवर्मिंग इनिशिएटिव. व्हाट इज नेशनल डीवर्मिंग इनिशिएटिव? मैंने आपको बताया था, चाइल्ड ट्रॉपिकल एंट्रोपैथी. फॉर दैट प्रॉब्लम गवर्नमेंट बेसिकली हैज इनिशिएटेड नेशनल डीवर्मिंग इनिशिएटिव इन दिस एल्बेंडोजोल. एल्बेंडोजोल इज अ मेडिसिन. ये कौन सा तीसरा पॉइंट देखिए, एल्बेंडोजोल. तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एडमिनिस्टर अ सिंगल डोज ऑफ एल्बेंडोजोल लाइक पोलियो वैक्सीन. जैसे पोलियो दिया जाता ना, उसी तरह गवर्नमेंट एडमिनिस्टर एल्बेंडोजोल. और ये किस पे वर्क करता है? इट वर्क्स ऑन सॉइल ट्रांसमिटेड हेलमिन्स. हेलमिन्स अगर आपने देखा हो तो इन योर स्टमक देयर इज वर्म्स. वर्म्स हो जाते हैं व्हेन यू हैव अनसैनिटरी कंडीशन विद द सॉइल एंड ऑल. बच्चे आजकल खेलते रहते हैं, खासकर विलेजेस में. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दैट देयर स्टमक्स में देयर इज वर्म्स, एंड व्हेन दे ईट फूड, द वर्म्स ईट फूड. The nutrition does not reach to the baby, the nutrition reaches to the worms in the body. So to deal with them, they are known as soil transmitted helminths. For them government administer albendazole. ठीक है, good initiative, nutrition के लिए है. Next, राष्ट्रीय बाल स्वास्थ्य कार्यक्रम और child health screening and early intervention services, both are the name here. 2013 में it was launched. It was launched by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It is not a program of Child and Women Development Ministry. It is the program of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. ठीक है? Basic thing about this is early identification and intervention for children on 4 Ds. What are the 4 Ds of this scheme? Defect at birth, deficiencies, disease and developmental delays. और इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट क्या करती है? बेसिकली गवर्नमेंट मोबाइल हेल्थ टीम्स आर सेंट to screen all the children in the age group of 0 to 6 and then enroll them to the Anganwadi center. Another foot soldier of India. Asha workers, मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया था, आशा वर्कर्स, आंगनवाड़ीज एंड टीचर्स एंड नर्सेज भी है, नर्सेज में आता है. आशा वर्कर्स, आंगनवाड़ी, टीचर्स, दीज आर द 3 मोस्ट. और हाँ, बैंकिंग कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट. यहाँ नहीं, मतलब आप बैंकिंग में समझेंगे व्हाट आर बैंकिंग कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट. दीज आर द 4 फुट सोल्जर ऑफ इंडिया. इफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया और एनी स्टेट, अगर आप इन 4 लोगों पे बस फोकस कर लो, यू कैन अचीव 90% ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम विल बी सॉल्व. यू डू नॉट नीड अ स्ट्रॉन्ग मैन जो आपको इमेंसिपेशन दिलाएगा, दुनिया से ऊपर ले जाएगा. ऑल यू नीड इज आशा वर्कर्स, फोकस ऑन आशा वर्कर्स, आंगनवाड़ी. आंगनवाड़ी इतनी बुरी कंडीशन में हमारी, बट आई कैन टेल यू Most of the Anganwadis do not. Anganwadi आपको पता है प्री स्कूल एजुकेशन में होता है. They provide food and everything. Very good initiative. They provide basic education. Most important is imagine a family bringing their kid to Anganwadi. That Anganwadi person is supposed to be literate. Government provides them training. That Anganwadi worker can train the parents about the future of the kid. Which school provide free education, because parents को क्या को लगता है going sending to the school is expenditure. So Anganwadi can provide them knowledge. Do go to government schools. This is how you can arrange. Government has this scheme for you. उन्हें नहीं पता होती है बातें, लेकिन Anganwadi can tell them. पर हमारी Anganwadi most of the states में they are so pathetic. They do not have an office, let alone they will provide any information. कहीं से भी कुछ भी चल रहा है. So I always say investing in ashas, investing in Anganwadi, investing in teachers, the school teacher I'm talking about, and investing, क्योंकि प्रोफेसर वगैरह तो बहुत अच्छा कमाते हैं, उनकी तो सैलरी 5-6 लाख रुपए होती है, तो दे आर वेरी गुड. स्कूल टीचर्स की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, हु आर गवर्नमेंट कंसीडर देम पेड लेबरर. कुछ भी करवाना हो टीचर्स को ले जाती है. वैक्सीन लगाना है तुम चलो, सेंसस करना है तुम चलो, कुछ भी करना हो टीचर को उठा के ले जाती है. स्कूल की छुट्टी, जाओ बच्चों. हाँ पोलिंग में हो तो तुम चलो. मतलब कुछ भी पेड लेबरर नहीं है वो. दे हैव ओनली वन पर्पस, एजुकेशन. इसलिए फिर क्या होता है, दे बिकम सो निकम्मास, दे डू नॉट फोकस ऑन एजुकेशन. वो कहते हैं इतना काम तुम करवा रहे हो, हम क्या पढ़ाते रहेंगे बच्चों को. तो ये नहीं होना चाहिए. तो दे ऑलवेज फोकस ऑन दिस. चलिए, तो इंडियाज फुट सोल्जर्स मैंने लिखे हैं वैसे. अबाउट इंडियाज फुट सोल्जर, नंबर 1 इज ऑक्सिलरी नर्सिंग मिडवाइफ. व्हाट आर दे? They are the first person to provide health care. They work in sub health center. It is at the level of block. Local level पे you have primary health centers. Above them you have sub health centers. Above that you have district hospitals and all. ठीक है? तो sub health centers से they are attached, and each auxiliary nursing midwife is supported by 4 to 5 ashas, which are the most important part of India's health system. Most important. ठीक है? Actually most of the time they are female, not compulsory. They can be male also, but majority of the time, in 99% you can say they are female. ठीक है? Trained female community health activist in every village. They are recruited by the village, accountable to the village. ये बहुत अच्छा काम है इसमें. पंचायत have some role. ठीक है? तो in every village selected from the village and accounted to the village. सबको समझ में आया? तो आशाज वर्क्स अंडर ANM and ANMs works under sub health center. So there's a proper linkage. ये तो हेल्थ मिशन मैंने आपको बता दिया था. नेक्स्ट इज आंगनवाड़ीज, द डे केयर सेंटर्स. अनदर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया. दे आर सेट अप अंडर, स्कीम का नाम याद रखिएगा, ICDS. ICDS, Integrated Child Development Service, by the Women and Child Development Ministry, to provide package of 6 services. What are the 6 services of Anganwadi? Supplementary nutrition, non-formal preschool education, immunization, health checkup, referral services and nutrition. तो देखिए what they do, they maintain India. आप देखिए these are the services which anyway is the most important thing. और इसीलिए इनको क्रेडिट देना बहुत जरूरी है. There are a lot of people, इनको पता ही नहीं है कि कोई आंगनवाड़ी किस लिए होते हैं. Do not know what are आशा वर्कर, why they are for. So they should be at a limelight. Limelight देना बहुत जरूरी होता है. For example, वैक्सीनेशन. मोदी जी थोड़ा गए थे घर में वैक्सीन लगाने. ठीक है, प्रधानमंत्री है, कोई बात नहीं. केजरीवाल भी नहीं गया होगा कहीं पे. These people went and billboards पे क्या लिखा होता? थैंक यू मोदी जी. अरे कौन सा घर पे गए थे क्या वैक्सीन लगाने? थैंक यू मोदी जी. इनका नाम होना चाहिए था. Understand this. If these people are on the billboards thanking them every place, so what will happen? People will get to know that these are the very important people. इससे क्या होगा? The aura of the profession will increase. Aura बढ़ना बहुत जरूरी होता है. Honor is very important thing. Then people will not think that's a menial job. They will be like, yeah, it's a very important job. Everyone thanks us every time. बात समझ में? तो it's very important part to do this. Anyway, चलता रहता दुनिया में ऐसे ही. तो ठीक है, these are the things. Always remember, अगर आपको कोई भी क्वेश्चन हो गवर्नेंस में या पेपर 1 में पर्टिकुलरली या ऐसे में भी हो, and you have to write about reforms that can take India to the future, तो इनका नाम आप कभी भी लिख सकते हो. ठीक है, दे आर वेरी क्रिटिकल फॉर इंडिया डेवलपमेंट। आप एजुकेशन हो, हेल्थ हो, कहीं पे भी हो, आप इनका नाम हमेशा दे सकते हो, ठीक है। तो दीज आर दैट इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर इंडिया। अब आता है एड्रेसिंग चैलेंजेस। कुछ चैलेंजेस पहला के देख लेते हैं। वही सैलरी वैलरी ना टाइम पे मिलती नहीं है, दे हैव लेस एक्सपीरियंस वगैरह वगैरह। वुमेन रिसीविंग midwife led continuity of care, because I told you they keep in contact with the pregnant mother and they provide them assistance at every stage, ठीक है। They are less likely to suffer infant loss and preterm birth, जो भी है preterm birth जिसे हम बोलते हैं still birth, शायद आपने नाम सुना हो, still birth, where the baby is born immature and more or less dead. Baby is born immature, more or less dead, and it is preventable. It is preventable. 90% of the stillbirth that happens in India are preventable only by prenatal care. पर वो हमारा टू लेट हो जाता है, ठीक है। प्रॉम्प्ट मेडिकल केयर है तो बता ही दिया था मैंने, पढ़ लेना। वैक्सीनेशन रजिस्ट्रेशन इज वेरी नेसेसरी एंड वैक्सीनेशन इज वेरी नेसेसरी, वी ओनली नो वल्नरेबल कैटेगरी। चलो हो गया, आई थिंक सारा खत्म हो गया। चलिए, तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था। आई हैव डेडिकेटेड टू मच टाइम ऑन दिस प्रिपेयरिंग। इसके अलावा आपको कुछ नहीं चाहिए। इट्स वेरी एग्जॉस्टिव, देयर सो मेनी रिपोर्ट, सो मेनी आइडियाज, वेरी एग्जॉस्टिव एंड वेरी कंप्लीट। बाकी कभी करंट में कुछ आएगा तो देख लेना, ठीक है। अब अगली न्यूज पे चलते हैं हम जल्दी से। इंडिया भूटान relations. So what happened recently? China Bhutan convened their 13th expert group meeting in Beijing with the primary focus on boundary delimitation. This event notably led to the formation of collaboration of joint technical team responsible for delineating China Bhutan boundary. चलो ये तो होगी न्यूज। अब आते हैं व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट। इंपॉर्टेंट इज, आपने शायद मैप होगा, देखना मैप है क्या नीचे। So the thing here is, the problem that we are witnessing here is this place जो आपको दिख रहा है ये तुम्बी वैली, एंड दिस स्मॉल प्लेस यहाँ पे इसमें दिखा नहीं रखा इंडिया की साइड पे, इज नोन एज, इस तरफ होता है शायद जहां भी होता है, दैट इज नोन एज सिलीगुड़ी कॉरिडोर। There is a very small piece of land around 100 kilometer wide that connects India with Northeast, known as Siliguri corridor or chicken snack. बोल chicken neck की तरह दिखता है इसलिए। अब the problem here is, on the north you have China. On the north you have China, and that is the concern. So Bhutan compromising with its territory is not only a compromise of Bhutan's sovereignty, it is a compromise of India's sovereignty also. And that's why we went, मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया था, we went to Doklam. We did not went to Doklam for Bhutan, we went to Doklam for us. This is the reason. तो ये जो रीजन आपका ढोकलाम रीजन है, ये look at how near it is to India's Siliguri corridor. बात समझ में आ रहा है? Why we went to Doklam? अब that's why we are interested in what Bhutan is gonna do with China. जो negotiation चाइना भूटान में होने वाला है, we are very much concerned. अब चाइना क्या चाहता है? चाइना चाहता है कि वो Bhutan gives this area to China in return of these areas which are under claim. Package deal चाहता है चाइना। चाइना कह रहा है कि these areas which are in dispute, you have them and give me this area. अब इंडिया इस पे कंसर्न है because this area is near Siliguri corridor. So we cannot allow this to happen. So far तो भूटान ने बोला है I will not give this area, but how long you can prevent this, not clear, very much not clear. और यही रीजन है कि बांग्लादेश फायदा उठाता है इंडिया का, because on the south of Siliguri corridor you have Bangladesh, and Bangladesh knows this, that if I am not there, if मान लेते if I join Pakistan China nexus, then we can stop Siliguri corridor whenever we want, and then northeast ko we can make an independent country the way we did with Pakistan. Why we could dismember Pakistan into two countries? Because we were in between. Pakistan, in order to assist East Pakistan, had to go around India, and that was a time-taking process. The planes could not go over India, and that is our concern. And Bangladesh knows this, and that's why Bangladesh takes advantage of India every time. Most important advantage, मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया था, एक होता है exclusive economic zone, EEZ. On the ocean side, you have EEZ, around 200 nautical miles. India gave thousands of kilometers of India's exclusive zone to Bangladesh for earning a friend. IR में कई बार हमें करना पड़ता है. अब ये चीज अगर हम पाकिस्तान के साथ करते तो ड्रामा हो जाता. पाकिस्तान को we cannot give 1 inch of territory. Bangladesh को we give thousands of kilometers of EEZ. The reason was we cannot afford to antagonize Bangladesh right now. We already are cornered on two sides. Here Pakistan, here China. India is already in a two-front war scenario, which we will study later. It's the fault of both governments. Bangladesh, if joined the China-Pakistan nexus, then it will be a three-front war. And three-front war we cannot win. किसी कीमत पे हम विन नहीं कर सकते. And the fear is losing Northeast also. तो सबको समझ में आ रहा है. तो we are very much concerned. As such, so it's an exercise between Bangladesh and China. But India is a very concerned party here. Depending upon which part out of these disputed territory Bhutan gives to China will determine how safe India will feel or how unsafe India will feel. Clear है significance? अब जल्दी से देख लेते हैं क्या है इसमें. So the key highlights, the 13th meeting that has been taken place, the key highlights is it has created a blueprint for the 14th round of discussion that will happen later, and it has a 3-step roadmap. Basically, we will agree on principles, we will put principles on ground, and then we will sign the agreement. The 3 steps are agreeing on principle of negotiation, then delineating on the ground, and then agreeing the agreement. Okay? These are 3 stages basically. Now let's see India's grand vision of the world, where Bhutan is in India's foreign policy. India's grand version of the world has been emphasized by the scholar C. Raja Mohan. He often writes in the Indian Express. IR article, he often writes good articles. So he has emphasized in his book that India's grand strategy divides the world into 3 concentric circles. The 3 circles are, number 1 is immediate neighborhood. In immediate neighborhood, India seeks what? Primacy and a veto. This is the reason India's neighbor hate India. This is, आप जब आया करेंगे, you will understand something called tragedy of small powers. There are 2 tragedies in the world: tragedy of great powers, tragedy of small powers. Tragedy of great powers is they are destined for a war, because the great powers antagonize a lot of countries, and a lot of countries take counter action. So you take action, they take counter action. You take counter to counter action, they take counter to counter to counter action. And this keeps on escalating to a point of war. The tragedy of great powers is war. Tragedy of small powers is they have 2 options. Either accept the status quo, matlab if somebody is bullying you, accept it, or make an alliance with somebody else. So that is the reason, एक चीज हमेशा याद रखिएगा, India's neighbor does not like India very much. And why is it so? Because India seeks primacy and a veto. ऐसा कोई neighbor नहीं जिसमें हमने उंगली ना करी. आप एक neighbor बता दीजिए. We went into Bangladesh, divided Pakistan into 2 parts. We went into Sri Lanka, and virtually Sri Lanka was in a civil war for a long time. We subjugated Nepal every time, and Nepal में तो India is so hated कि नेपाल में अगर किसी को छींक भी आए तो बोलते हैं इंडिया की वजह से आई है. India is a literally hated topic in Nepal, and Nepal में every election में India is a bashing point. Bhutan, out of all neighbors of India, is the only neighbor with which we have good relations, a friendly relations. पाकिस्तान से तो हमारे बहुत अच्छे relations हैं, ठीक है. We are BFF forever, ठीक है. चलिए, so clear है. The reason is India seeks primacy and a veto in India's neighborhood. And this thing it has got from British Raj. When British Raj was there, it was the same. British Raj beat everything. आपने देखा होगा British Raj carried out numerous wars. India के हर neighbor को पीटा है उसने, ठीक है. And India has inherited that tendency. हम अभी भी अपने आप को we consider us as the biggest power, ठीक है. तो that's why India's neighbor does not like India very much, except Bhutan. वो एक exception है. तो India in immediate neighborhood, India seeks primacy and a veto. It seeks veto on what the neighbors can do, and it seeks primacy on everything. Okay, next, the so-called एक्सटेंडेड नेबरहुड. सो हाँ, भूटान का लाई करता है इंडिया के इमीडिएट नेबरहुड में. द प्राइमरी सर्कल जो इंडिया का पहला सर्कल है, भूटान लाइज इन इंडियाज फर्स्ट सर्कल. द सेकंड सर्कल इज एक्सटेंडेड नेबरहुड, दैट इज लार्जली योर इंडो पैसिफिक. In this, India seeks to balance other powers. In second circle, India seeks to balance what the other countries can do. Okay? And third, the entire globe. So these are the three circles of India's foreign policy. First is immediate neighborhood, second is extended neighborhood, third is the globe itself. Okay? In this, India tries to become one of the great powers. So this is India's grand vision of क्या था India's grand strategy. This is India's grand strategy about the world. Three circles dividing them. Bhutan lies in first circle, that is primacy and a veto, and that is the point of anger. अब सोचिए, somebody whom you have got into relationship, if that person start commanding you, do this, don't do this, do that, don't do that, so you got frustrated. Same is with India's neighbor, because India seeks primacy and a veto, so we nudges them every time. If they have a deal, we are like, show me the deal, what you did, show me your phone, क्या है इसमें, ठीक है. Same thing is here. If they say I want to develop a hydro project, we are like, okay, पहले मुझे मौका मिलना चाहिए hydro project का, then somebody else. So everywhere India interferes, and genuinely India interferes. यार देखिए, India's neighbor is linked to India's future. But इसमें एक और चीज भी है, without having a peaceful neighborhood, India cannot become a superpower. ये तो फैक्ट है. Why America is a superpower? Because America does not fear if all American soldiers are in Afghanistan, Canada will attack America. America is a superpower. आप अपने केस में देख लीजिए. If your family is supporting, then you can achieve any task. If your family is nudging, ये नहीं होगा, वो नहीं होगा, ये नहीं होगा, तो आप करके भी कुछ नहीं कर पाओगे. Family support is very important for a success of a person. Similarly, a peaceful neighborhood is the precondition for becoming a superpower, and that is what the current foreign minister S. Jaishankar has said himself. इसीलिए remember, when we कभी मौका लगेगा इंडिया पाकिस्तान का तो देख लेंगे. Pakistan as a perennial enemy hurts India's future design. Without making Pakistan a friend, India cannot achieve the grand vision of becoming a superpower. ये तो fact है. But Pakistan will never become a friend. Why? भूल गए क्या मैंने आपको बताया था? हाँ, पेयर्ड माइनॉरिटी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. Stephen P. Cohen. Stephen P. Cohen was the scholar. जैसे if I ask you one thing, फिर मैं जल्दी से आगे पढ़ लेंगे. If I ask you, tell me one thing which we solve and that will solve India-Pakistan relation. मतलब हम अच्छे दोस्त बन जाएंगे, बहुत अच्छे भी नहीं, अच्छे. एक कोई इशू जो आपको लगता है which we will solve, then we can become good friends. वो तुम्हें तो पता है. कश्मीर, ठीक है, कश्मीर सॉल्व कर लेते हैं. और कोई कुछ नहीं है. The reason is, that is what Stephen P. Cohen says. He says, even if India gives Jammu Kashmir to Pakistan, or Pakistan gives Jammu Kashmir to India, they will never be friends. The reason being paired minority conflict. There are some minorities in both countries that will never like to have friendly relations. Particularly India, there are some people. If Pakistan becomes a friend, then how they will ask for vote? हर वक्त तो Pakistan, Pakistan, Pakistan. Same is in Pakistan. Particularly Pakistan में Pakistani army. 1,000 rupees or 100 rupees. If Pakistani government has a budget of 100 rupees, Pakistani army corners 70 rupees out of it. When the people ask, yeah, we are poor country, we need welfare, why you are taking 70 rupees? The Pakistani army replies, we have India to fight. Aren't you a nationalist? Can't you sacrifice for the nation? ठीक है, तो nationalism, I told you, is the most abused concept. So anyway, this is the reason. इसलिए आप एक चीज नोटिस करना, whenever India Pakistan starts talk, कभी भी, within a week or within a month, some or other terrorist event happens. और ये हमेशा होता है. Whenever India Pakistan start talks means more understanding. More understanding means better relations. Immediately something happens. And why it happens? Because India is a democracy. If a terrorist event happens, then the people of India pressurize Indian government. Why are talking to terrorists? So the talks goes away. समझ में आ रहा? This is a very common feature, and the reason is paired minority conflict. This is the same conflict you see in case of Shia Sunnis. Middle East में the Shia Sunni conflict is a paired minority conflict. Same is the Arab Jew conflict. Same is the Russia US conflict. These all conflicts are basically paired minority conflict. Clear है सबको? So anyway, we need clear. अब देखते हैं the things that were stopping India from becoming a superpower. जो मैंने आपको पहला बता ही दिया, the paired minority conflict because of the first thing that is stopping India from becoming a superpower, according to C. Raja Mohan, that is the partition of India along religious lines, and that created Pakistan, the arch nemesis, the self-created arch nemesis, and the internal Hindu-Muslim divide. It is increasing nowadays. ठीक है जो भी है. Next, India's socialist system, because socialist system में we were a closed economy. Socialism में we were a closed economy. We were not trading to the world. We were self-contained, self-happy kind of thing that was going on. So it is no longer a problem. ठीक है? तो अब तो India is not a socialist economy. India is a properly a neoliberal economy. ठीक है? Neoliberal economy running on demand and supply based on market fundamentalism. तो ये तो प्रॉब्लम है नहीं. Next, Cold War. Cold War, why it is called Cold War? Because पहला तो ये समझिए what is Cold War. Cold War is a war between two ideas. It is not a war between countries. The two ideas were capitalism and communism. It was not a war between countries. It was a war between two ideas, two ideologies. It happens that America led capitalism, USSR led communism. Okay? That's a different thing. So Cold War was going on and India got pushed into the arms of Soviet Union. और मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया था, when USSR break down, it is often said the Russians were in pain but the Indians were crying because we were so dependent on Soviet Union. Okay? But nonetheless, it is no longer a point. Okay? The biggest problem that is hindering India from becoming a superpower is point number 1. Partition of India, the perennial animosity between India and Pakistan, and the internal Hindu-Muslim divide. It's very, और ये दोनों precondition है. Remember, हमारी media कुछ भी बोले, but India cannot become a superpower without having good relations with its all neighbor, particularly Pakistan, and the second, having a stable internal system. अगर आपकी society stable है, you can fight with anyone. सोसाइटी स्टेबल नहीं है तो यू विल बी सो इन्वॉल्व विद इन योरसेल्फ, कुछ कर ही नहीं पाओगे. और यही रीजन अभी हम आगे देखेंगे. क्लियर है सबको? चलिए, implication for India's strategic interest. ये डील जो साइन होने वाली है इंडिया भूटान में, if it will be signed, if India does not intervene, which I firmly believe, if India finds that this Bhutan deal will have repercussion for India, India will intervene. और इंडिया ने पहले भी इंटरवीन किया. We had created blockade of Bhutan. इकोनॉमिक ब्लॉकेट कर दिया था उन्होंने भूटान का, because Bhutan does not have natural frontiers in ocean. It has to depend on India for imports. So we created a blockade of Bhutan as a punishment for it is trying to have some relations with China. Same we did with Nepal. When Nepal became too friendly with China, we created an economic blockade. And उसका उन्होंने ड्रामा बना दिया, गंदा वाला, रोने लगे, वो पैर पीटने लगे. ठीक है, बट मतलब ठीक है, बिकॉज सोशल मीडिया का जमाना है. दे शेप द नैरेटिव्स. दे वर लाइक दे कैन, बिकॉज ऑफ इंडिया द पीपल, जानबूझ के दे मेड क्लिप्स दैट वुमेन्स आर सफरिंग, प्रेग्नेंट वुमेन्स डू नॉट हैव मेडिसिन, चाइल्ड डू नॉट हैव फूड, एवरीथिंग इज ड्रामा. एंड देन एज अ काउंटर आफ्टर दैट इवेंट दे इंक्लूडेड सम पार्ट्स ऑफ इंडिया इन देयर मैप. जो मैंने आपको बताया था, 3 एरिया इंडिया के, काला पानी, लिम्पू लेक एंड लिम्पीदुरा. These are 3 places, I think, on Uttarakhand side. They were included in the map of Nepal because nationalism is important than food. It's easy, understand this. They included these 3 areas not because Nepal will become a developed country next day, but because diversion. Nepal is a least developed country. It is riddled with hunger, malnutrition, poverty. So you have two ways: either work on hunger, malnutrition, poverty, or give nationalism. Nationalism excites emotion and people forget their hunger. So they included three part in the map. इससे क्या बदल गया नेपाल में? कौन सा नेपाल डेवलप कंट्री बन गया? बट डाइवर्जन अच्छा हो गया. पीपल आर लाइक, हाँ ये काम आपने अच्छा किया. बात समझ में आई? सो नेशनलिज्म इज ऑफन यूज्ड फॉर दैट पर्पस. एनीवे, मैंने आपको ये सारा समझाई दिया. वो इसमें लिखा हुआ है. ये डोकलाम चुम्बी वैली के पास है. वी आर इंटरेस्टेड इन दैट. एंड भूटान ईस्टर्न बॉर्डर पे यू हैव सक्टेंग रीजन ऑन द ईस्टर्न बॉर्डर जो आपको दिखाया था. दैट इज नियर टू इंडिया अरुणाचल प्रदेश. समथिंग चाइना कॉल साउथ तिब्बत. रिसेंटली चाइना इंक्लूडेड तिब्बत इन इट, सॉरी, अरुणाचल प्रदेश. रिसेंटली चाइना इंक्लूडेड अरुणाचल प्रदेश इन देयर मैप. इंडिया प्रोटेस्टेड. ये सब चलता रहता है, कोई बड़ी बातें नहीं है. दिस वेरी कॉमन. ठीक है, ये चीजें मैंने आपको समझाई दी थी. अब ये क्या हो रहा है? हाँ, मैप हो गया हमारा, बाकी चीज हो गया. बाकी हिस्टोरिकल रिलेशन में आपको पता है भूटान इज व्हाट? भूटान इज बेसिकली अ बुद्धिस्ट मोनार्की, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोनार्की. Bhutan is a Buddhist constitutional monarchy. We have cultural ties since antiquity. Actually, Bhutan and Nepal used to be India's. अगर आपको पता हो तो. We had princely states. अगर आपको पता हो, when we started our independence, so we had princely states. There were a lot of states which were led by princes. We included all of them except two. Initially, there were three. Sikkim was also not India's part. Later on, Sikkim accepted India. ठीक है, टू princely states of India are still out, Nepal and Bhutan. They are not independent state, they are princely state of India. तो अखंड भारत होके रहेगा. ठीक है, सीधी सी बात ही है. बट एनीवे रिमेंबर, अखंड भारत कंसेप्ट जो है, इट इज ओल्ड कॉन्सेप्ट. मैंने आपको थोड़ी देर पहले बताया था. फिक्स्ड टेरिटरी बेस्ड नेशन. अभी अगर आपने देखा हो, आई थिंक इसमें भी जो नई संसद बनी है उसमें भी अखंड भारत का मैप लगाया जाता, मुझे याद है. सो द प्रॉब्लम हियर इज इट इज ओल्ड नैरेटिव्स. हो सकता है इन सम ड्यूरिंग मॉडर्न एम्पायर और गुप्ता एम्पायर यू मे हैड एन एम्पायर फ्रॉम अफगानिस्तान टू म्यांमार. हिस्ट्री डज नॉट डिक्टेट प्रेजेंट. इस हिसाब से तो एंटायर यूरेशिया कैन बी कॉल्ड ग्रेटर मंगोलिया, बिकॉज मंगोलियन लीडर गेंजिस खान ही कैप्चर्ड एंटायर यूरोप एंड सॉरी एंटायर एशिया. तो क्या हम इसे ग्रेटर मंगोलिया बोलने लगेंगे? ये तो स्टूपिडिटी है ना. तो दैट इज द थिंग. पास्ट नैरेटिव्स आर डिफरेंट. द प्रेजेंट इज फिक्स्ड टेरिटोरियल nations, and what it leads to the final conclusion, reality is shaped. मैंने पहले भी समझाया है, reality what you believe is shaped by theories. देखिए, फिक्स नेशन की थ्योरी है और आप उस टेरिटरी के लिए मरने को तैयार हैं जो कुछ समय पहले पैदा हुई है. पीपल डाई ऑन बॉर्डर्स ना, कि वी आर प्रोटेक्टिंग द बॉर्डर्स एंड दीज बॉर्डर्स डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट एनीवेयर. दे आर मैन मेड आइडियाज एंड दे आर डाइंग फॉर मैन मेड आइडियाज. नेचुरल तो भूल ही जाओ. So that's powerful is theory. सबको क्लियर है? बाकी चीजें पढ़ लेना. हमारे कल्चरल रिलेशन बहुत प्यारे प्यारे हैं. भूटान बहुत बढ़िया जगह है, वहां पर जाया करो. बैचलर तो खासकर जाया करो. ठीक है. It's a good place. It's a very serene place. Environmentally, it's very rich. So that's a concern also among Bhutanese कि Indians pollute Bhutan. ठीक है, वहां जाते हैं वही हरकतें हमारी शुरू हो जाती हैं वहां पे. ठीक है, जो हम हर जगह करते हैं. क्लियर है? तो बाकी आप रीड कर लेना. टाइम इज एनीवे ओवर. मेन चीज मैंने आपको समझा दी. मेन इंडिया भूटान में याद रखिएगा द मैप डील. मैप में वी डू नॉट वांट भूटान टू गिव एनी एरिया नियर सिलीगुड़ी कॉरिडोर बिकॉज ऑलरेडी चाइना इज देयर. ठीक है, चलिए. तो ऑल थ्री वर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, लेकिन जो सेकंड वाला था दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूज. ठीक है, प्लीज डू दैट इन डिटेल, रिवाइज इट अगेन एंड अगेन. चलिए, बाय बाय, देन वी विल मीट अगेन नेक्स्ट सैटरडे. वेरी वेलकम. Very welcome everyone online. Bye bye.